What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Lil Mackie Rob, aka Meat Toe. You already know. How we doing today, man? I hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's staying warm. If you live in the north, because it's fucking cold up here, bro. Literally yesterday, my fucking car wouldn't start after I literally turned it on. Not even 30 minutes before it decided to die, and it started just fine. It's fucking cold, dude. But I hope y'all are doing good. I just want to say I appreciate everybody subscribing. I appreciate everybody checking out the videos, leaving likes, leaving comments and stuff. I really do like it. I'm glad to see that our community is slowly growing, slowly but surely, and I appreciate all of it. So thank you guys, man. You guys are awesome. And yeah, man. So how we doing? We doing good? I'm glad. So anyways, just to kind of get right to it. Today we're gonna be reacting again to make that a little bigger right there. So today we're gonna be reacting. I got a couple of videos saved that I'm gonna be reacting to, and one of these is actually interesting. It's called Marvel Rivals Matchmaking: The Deepest Investigation You'll Ever See. I have no idea what they mean. This was posted like about a week ago. And now you stay tweak out. I forgot how that song goes, something like that. But yeah, it was posted almost about a week ago, and yeah, I want to know what kind of investigation we're talking about here, with Marvel Rivals. What's going on? Well, it says Marvel Rivals Matchmaking, so I'm assuming it's got something to do with the matchmaking. Just trying to put two and two together, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, if don't forget to always check out the videos that we react to. I always put the links into the description of the videos and shit, so you guys can go check them out, go show them some love. Because it's an hour long video, so that means this man really put in some work with this investigation, and I'm excited. So his name is Nerf Pool, which is a pretty fire name. I like the aesthetic we're going for here. I like it. I fuck with it. And yeah, man, let's shut up and just watch, man. Let's watch it together. Don't forget, if you like this kind of content, leave a like, leave a subscribe, or consider subscribing, and leave a comment or leave a dislike, whatever you like. Just do it. All right, let's get to it.
Imagine logging into Marvel Rivals.
Oh, sorry.
You got your chippies, you got your cola, you got everything going. And you know what? You're crushing match after match.
Sorry, I'm going to speed this up just a little bit, because it is an hour-long video. It's going to be quite long, so I just got a couple more videos I want to get done today, so we got to speed it up a little bit.
After victory, the streak is real. But just when you're riding high, the tide turns. Suddenly, you find yourself teamed with a bunch of noobs, and your opponents, they seem like freaking experts. Was it bad luck, or was it something planned?
You know what? I have low-key thought about this when I've played, because he's exactly right, and I'm sure a lot of you go through this shit too. He's exactly right. I will have matches, dude, or like not even matches. Sometimes I'll have nights where I'm like just demolishing. And mind you, most of the time I solo queue. I play with my friends here and there when we're all hanging out. But I like this game so much, I don't wait for them. I will solo queue and just grind and play by myself. So yeah, I'll have nights where I'm like really like doing good. It's victory after victory after. I'll get like 4 or 5 victories in a row, get a couple losses here and there, but the majority of the night is like all victories, bro. And like the next night, I'll just be fucking shit on by like the worst. By like not even the worst. I can't even say it's the worst teammates, because I will admit sometimes it's my fault. I'll just be doing dumb shit. Like I'll just be walking into a clear 1v3 or 1v4 or 1v6 and get destroyed. So a lot of it is sometimes my fault, but there's also times, because recently I've definitely gotten used to how the game plays and how to take angles and stay behind cover and shit. So I'm starting to mitigate my own mistakes, and bro, that doesn't even matter. Sometimes I will really just get some crazy opponents on the other team, bro. Like these dudes, like the DPS will be going 20 and fucking 3 or some shit. The tank will even be close to hitting like 20 kills a game, or like 25 kills in like 2 or 3, whatever. Like their whole team will be stacked. Fuck, I've even seen the other team when they're doing a bro, and then on top of that, these motherfuckers in quick play will run the triple support shit, bro. It is crazy, bro. It is crazy, the difference in games from one night to the other. And then recently I've definitely had times where I've like won a game and like destroyed and went like 35-0 or some shit, and then the next game I'm going like 8-7, like and it's fucking It's crazy. And I've sat here and thought, like, is this like a Call of Duty thing where, like, if you know you had a good game, just know your next game, because the skill-based matchmaking is going to be absolutely garbage, and you're going to get put up against people who, like, sweat their ass off in the shit. That's what I've kind of wondered, because I feel like this game has that same problem that Call of Duty has with that skill-based matchmaking. So
roller coaster of emotions is not organic. Some players insist it's engineered. In this investigative deep dive that I have created, this monstrosity of research, we're gonna unravel the mystery. I'm gonna take you on a journey, buddy. We're first gonna journey through the history of online game matchmaking, and then we're gonna discover how modern algorithms like EOMM and OptMatch, don't worry, those things are gonna make sense, work behind the scenes, and why many players feel the system is stacking the deck. And hey, for the last 2 weeks I've been going blind.
sorry, I'm just gonna speed up just 1.5 is where I'm gonna go. I think that should be good.
On research papers and technical things.
I also turn it up a little bit. It's a little quiet for me.
I really intended to make a very complete, well-researched, well-thought-out video here, so your likes and comments and subscriptions are deeply appreciated. As you can see, I have less than 1,000 subscribers, and yet I'm putting in all this effort, and it makes me feel like an idiot a little bit, but at the same time, couldn't catch.
Oh yeah, wait, that is true. Wait, how many subscribers does he have now? Yo, he went up, bro. Man's went up. He had 800 subscribers, and he jumped 9,000 subscribers from this video. That's amazing. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm going too far ahead. I'm impressed. That's fire, dude.
40 minutes and talking like an idiot. So if you want to reward me for my effort here, you know how to do it. All right, let's jump into the video. History time. See, I thought that to understand Marvel Rivals' matchmaking, I really needed to first see how matchmaking in online gaming evolved and how it all started. And you know what? It wasn't always guided by these complex, crazy algorithms. And that sounds right. When I was playing Counter-Strike as a kid, I don't think there was much behind the scenes. So in the early days of online gaming, matchmaking really just meant just a simple lobby or a server where anybody could join. And that's how I remember it. That's what I grew up on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's how it used to be for sure. It was all like peer-to-peer kind of shit. Like you had a host, and then everybody else would connect to the host, and then yeah, I think it was mainly you would just connect to whoever you had the best connection to. It didn't. I don't think it had anything to do with skill really. It was all just who you had a better connection to, so you didn't lag as much. But yeah, it was like back in the day, like BO2 days, BO1, Halo. Like that was all like peer-to-peer connection. You had one host, everybody would join them, and when that person would leave, the game would have to stop, and you do that whole host migration thing where it would pick somebody else with the strongest connection to be the host. But it had nothing to do with skill. So that's why you would get lobbies where you have some people who like just started playing the game and like are clearly ass versus people who like play that shit nonstop and they would just stomp the whole lobby. But some say, some argue back then that was kind of ass, and that's why skill-based matchmaking is good. So that way the playing field is a bit more even, which is a valid argument. But then there's the other side where people are like, but that, kind of just having everybody just kind of thrown into a lobby was also better because that gave you more opportunities to have funny moments to happen, or you just have good times playing the game. Some people would do good because they were actually good at the game, and some people were just bad because they didn't know how to play the game yet. But at least that way you kind of got thrown into the deep end and you just kind of had to learn. So there's two sides to that argument. I personally, I don't know. I don't mind skill-based matchmaking. I just feel like the algorithm that does it in these games is not always 100%. But then again, you can never have anything that's perfect. So, but I do think skill-based matchmaking is good overall, because I won't lie, being on the other end of those old style lobbies, the peer-to-peer matchmaking lobbies where I was the shitter going against other people who played that shit nonstop. Yeah, not getting a single kill consistently in almost every single game that I played was not fun, especially if you were casual. I only got good at playing Halo or got good at playing BO1 and shit like that because I just stopped playing outside and was like, I'm going to be good at this game, and would just play that game. I would just play Call of Duty all day until I finally got good. But yeah. So I think skill-based matchmaking is pretty good.
Probably what you grew up on. We're both old, so you remember, it was the Wild West, man. Sometimes you're going to be facing pros way above your level and just accept the loss, and other times you're going to be running people over because it's just a noob to join. There was a push for fair matches, right? So this push led to skill rating systems. A really good example that I found is the ELO rating system from chess, of all things, which inspired early game rankings. I thought that was pretty cool. So by 2004, the developers of Halo 2 were messing around with a new Bayesian rating called True Skill to improve upon ELO. And I think that's where it all starts. See, True Skill aims to quickly estimate a player's skill and then match them up with others of similar ability, making the matches a bit more balanced. Throughout 2000s and 2010s, a lot of competitive games like League of Legends, Dota 2 adopted such skill-based match.
I've never played League of Legends. I'll be honest. I'm a Smite kid, so take that as you want. That's probably, he threw up at League of Legends. He's probably gonna jump out of a window if he catches wind. I play Smite. But yeah, I've never really played League of Legends. I'm more of a Smite kid, but I mean they're both kind of the same. I think it's really just like, from what I've noticed, it's just the camera angles that are different. League of Legends gives you that bird's eye view, and Smite gives you the classic third-person view. But, I mean, I think they're both the same, I'll be honest.
Matchmaking systems. By the way,
but Smite is better. I don't know. I don't know. I look at League of Legends, and I don't know. I like the the idea of me playing and going against, like, a bunch of different gods from a bunch of different, I guess, like, lineages or whatever you call them, like but you know, I like the fact that there's a bunch of different gods from like different mythologies and shit, you know, that you're using instead of just, you know, created monsters, which I mean, you know, to each their own. I don't know, I think Smite's better.
This skill-based matchmaking thing, we're going to call it SBMM because that abbreviation is going to show up a lot later in the video, so just remember it. Skill-based matchmaking, say it with me. And now this SBMM, it led to this matchmaking rating, or it was often tied to it, which is MMR, which is probably something you're familiar with. And that rises with your wins and losses, your MMR, right? Got me? Skill-based matchmaking, it takes MMR, they do this, or maybe this, and then you got True Skill. That's basically what it was. Story time. Picture a 2007 Halo 3 lobby back in the peak of delicious racism. The game's SBMM quietly crunches numbers like a coach figuring out which players to let play. So if you're a sharpshooter in the last games and you had perfect aim and you just killed everybody, the system is then going to bump up your invisible skill number a bit, and then next match, it's going to try to seat you at the table with players of comparable aim. And the goal of all of that was really simple, just fair fights. So at its core, SBMM treated matchmaking like a chess tournament. So you're going to match grandmasters with grandmasters, and you're going to match novices with novices. Pretty simple. But as online gaming grew and expanded, a new question came up. What if fair fights are not the only goal? So naturally, game companies started to notice something. Player retention, you know, how long you keep playing, is a fragile thing. And it kind of makes sense, you know, a perfectly fair system might inadvertently cause some players to quit. So then, of course, developers started to wonder, could matchmaking be tuned not just for fairness, but to keep players engaged? See, this led to the rise of engagement-optimized matchmaking, which was a natural evolution from SBMM to this, or EOMM, engagement-optimized matchmaking. See, in 2017, a team at Electronic Arts published a paper titled EOMM, Engagement-Optimized Matchmaking Framework. It was really a watershed moment. The paper suggested that perfectly fair matches are not always the best for keeping players hooked. Instead of only using skill, the EOMM framework added new ingredients to the matchmaking recipe. The first one was churn probability. This is an estimate of how likely you are to quit playing if you have a bad or good experience.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. That's actually pretty intricate. I've heard, too, that, I don't know if it's true. This is definitely a rumor. Maybe he'll bring it up here. I have no idea. But I've heard rumors that they also add, like, if you buy skins to games, it's like, and they'll try to match you with people who also buy skins versus if you just don't buy anything. And I feel like, I don't know how truthful that is, but I do feel like I have, but then again, it is probably just because of how long the game has been out now that more people are actually now able to buy skins and shit like that, you know. But I do feel like when even like a couple weeks after Marvel Rivals dropped, like maybe like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after Marvel Rivals dropped, I still had no skins, never bought a battle pass, never bought any skins, didn't even buy any of like the cheap like 600 blue coin, whatever you call them, the 600 coin skins, the really cheap ones that you can get, like the recolors. I didn't even have those. I was literally just all basic for the most part. Literally everything was basic. And I felt like I was only ever getting people who also just were all basic skin characters. And then once I bought the season 1 battle pass, this one that we have, and then I started buying more skins too. Now I'm getting more matched with people who have, or I'm getting matched more with people who have skins. And I don't know how truthful that is. Maybe that's just some bullshit that somebody said on TikTok or something. But I don't know. I heard rumors that that's also a thing that they'll take, whether or not you buy skins into consideration to who you get placed in a match with. Which, I mean, if that's true, that kind of sucks, dude. Because like, imagine if that's true, and like you're just like, you know, like you're just somebody who just, you know, who likes to buy skins. You know, maybe you're not all the way good in the game yet, but like you like the way a certain skin looks for a character that you play, you know, and you buy the skin, and then now all of a sudden you're paired against people who like played the game hella and like they also have a bunch of skins just because you bought one skin for one character. That would kind of suck. But yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's true. We'll see. Maybe he brings it up, but I highly doubt it.
The second one were dynamic adjustments. So the system could even change its objective, which is nuts. The researchers then noted
that
wait.
I think I was right.
Good experience. The second one were dynamic
adjustments. The optimization objective can be tuned for various interests, examples, in-game time, or even spending. So I am right. So I was right. So, okay, so they do take into account that if you buy shit in the game, they'll also take that into consideration on who you get placed in matches with. That's kind of crazy. That kind of sucks because I don't think spending has anything to do with skill. But again, like this is all, I don't know. It's just, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Because like I said, imagine if you're just like some newbie and you just like a cool Spider-Man skin, so you buy it. Like, I don't know, let's say you like the No Way Home skin or some shit. So then you turn around and you buy it. Now you're going to get placed with Spider-Mans and like other people who also buy hella skins that probably play the game a lot more than you have at that time. Like, that kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. See, I felt like that was a thing. I'm right, chat.
adjustments. So the system could even change its objective, which is nuts. The researchers then noted that they could retune the matchmaking goal to maximize other things like playtime, retention, or even spending, which is when it gets real creepy. To dumb this down a little bit so it's a little bit easier to digest, EOMM was basically matchmaking meeting data science for the first time ever. So here's how I like thinking about it. I imagine the matchmaking system as a casino dealer who doesn't just deal cards randomly, but also keeps an eye on every player's mood. So if, for example, you're getting upset and might leave the table, the dealer then might just tweak the next round in your favor a little bit, not enough to be obvious, but enough to keep you in the game. Or if you're winning too much and you're starting to get bored, maybe the next round he gives you a bit more challenge. So it's not, I don't think it's outright cheating. The cards are still, dealt from the same deck, but the order of the cards might be influenced by another motive, keep the game going. That's kind of what's going on here. So around the same...
Yeah, I wouldn't consider... it's definitely not cheating, but it's definitely scummy in a way. But then again, if it's a business, everybody's got to, you got to make money. You got to keep retention. You got to make sure people actually play your games. Or in his example at the poker table, make sure people are still playing at your table. But while it's not cheating, it definitely is a little scummy for sure to be tweaking games like that. At least in my opinion, because I'm a more of like a fairness person. I like things to be as fair as possible. So that just seems like that's kind of shitty. Because if you're just good at the game, and it is what it is, like I guess, even though it is fair to want to put I think you should just be playing against people who also are your skill and, just go against them. But again, then, I get it too. Like at some point you either just get bored or whatever, and then you just stop playing the game, which is, it's kind of counterintuitive. You want them to keep playing the game. So I understand. I get why they do it, but I don't know. It's definitely a little weird.
Same time, other gaming giants are starting to wake up and are starting to explore very similar ideas. In fact, Activision, they made Call of Duty, filed a patent for a matchmaking system that could encourage microtransactions by pairing players strategically. Wow. It sounds like Activision, to be honest. So here's how it worked. For example, they'll be matching a newbie with a veteran who has a bunch of premium cool gear and then hope that the newbie is going to be enticed to buy that gear. What the fuck? The industry cleared.
Whoa, that's crazy. Yo, that's crazy. That's kind of crazy, bro. These people who come up with this shit are you guys are slimy. You guys are sleazy. You guys really know how to get at people. That's wild to me. Okay.
Clearly was interested in matchmaking as more than just fair competition. It was becoming a tool to drive player behavior. Enter Marvel Rivals. See, the game is still very, very young. As of the making of this video, we're in Season 1, so it's still a baby. And the game came onto the scene a few months ago with really fun hero battles, a great IP, fantastic animations and sound design, and this promise of a really fun competitive team play. But behind the Marvel Heroes is a developer with a very research-oriented approach to matchmaking, and that's NetEase. Their involvement is really crucial because they have been at the forefront of implementing engagement-based matchmaking systems in their games, guided by research like OptMatch and NMatch, which we're going to talk about in a second. Now, let's break down what I already know and suspect about Marvel Rivals' matchmaking. The very first thing is that Marvel Rivals does not appear to have a traditional, pure SBMM where only skill matters. Instead, a lot of evidence suggests that it uses a system influenced by EOMM principles. Potentially, it's an in-house variant that they call OptMatch. Then the goal of such a system is just to balance matches in a way that optimizes and maximizes player satisfaction and engagement, not just skill parity, which is very different. Next, we're about to get...
So they do, so it sounds like, so Marvel Rivals does, it sounds like a less skill-based matchmaking, more of just like, yeah, engagement-based matchmaking, I guess, or retention-based matchmaking. I don't know how you would consider that. Okay, but it seems like they look more into how engaged are you in the game, and then they use that to match you against other people who are also probably engaged as much as you are. I don't know. Let me stop talking and let me explain a little bit.
Nerdy, and I really like learning about these things, but we're going to talk about kind of the science behind the scenes. EOMM, OptMatch, and things like NMatch. They'll become clear as I talk. So to roll the tape back a bit, in August 2020, NetEase researchers published OptMatch, optimizing matchmaking via modeling the high-order interactions on the arena. What this was essentially an engagement-oriented matchmaking system, but with a really interesting twist. It still valued fair, close games as a route to happy players, but OptMatch also introduced a two-phase approach. Number one was offline learning. So what it does is that it analyzes a ton of game data to understand things like composition and player performance, things like that. The paper then describes features like hero to vec and player to vec, basically learning the characteristics of heroes and players. So things like who works well with whom, which heroes synergize, so Iron Man amplifying Hulk, or one character covering another one's weakness, you know. Also, it thinks about how does this player usually perform and what heroes are they best with. So that's the first one. The second one is online matchmaking planning. So with all of this knowledge, when you hit find match, the system isn't just, you know, randomly throwing 6 players into 2 teams and calling it a day. No, it's thinking. It's evaluating like thousands of possible team combinations among players of pretty much the same rank. So it's as if the matchmaking is playing like a giant game of Tetris, fitting different pieces together, which are actually the players, into 2 balanced teams. Yeah, it uses a utility function, which is essentially a score for how satisfying a matchup is predicted to.
A utility function is a formula that helps the matchmaking system decide the best match by scoring different options based on goals like fairness and player engagement. Okay.
Be for each player, and then tries to maximize that. If putting you and player B on the same team, let's say because your favorite heroes complement each other or something, leads to a higher satisfaction score, the system leans that way. However, if grouping, I'll just give you a bad example, but grouping too many tanks or too many supports of the same role makes the team worse, then it's going to avoid that. So OptMatch's philosophy...
Okay, that's interesting. But then how do they engage satisfaction then? That's my question, you know, because like I feel like in Fortnite, they also do that, but that's why like sometimes at the end of your Fortnite matches, at least for me, every time I have matches where we're getting like destroyed in Fortnite, we're not even getting close to like the final circle or anything. At like random moments, I'll get a survey style question where it's like, how much did you enjoy that last match from a scale of 1 to 10 or some shit? And so and I kind of figured they're like, okay, I see what they're doing. They're trying to see how like based on that match, and I'm assuming the players, like how did I feel about it? I usually just don't ever answer because I just like, I don't care. Just match me with people who are my skill. But so that's what I'm curious about. How does the system then engage, or how does the system then define and like figure out like how like your satisfaction based on your games? Because like they don't ask you like how did you feel about the last game you played or anything like that, at least as far as I know. So I'm interested. Did they do it by like how quickly you decide to go back into another match? Like, you know, like do they figure that out by like, okay, the match just ended, he clicked or this person clicked one more round and just went straight to another one, and that means that they're okay with this, versus somebody who ended the match, went back to the lobby, and then kind of stayed at the lobby for a while before they got back into another match? Like, is that how they determine it? I just want to know, how do they determine satisfaction, you know?
Philosophy in 2020 was still fair matches equals happy players. At this stage, it wasn't, you know, rigging outcomes. It was trying to make matches as fair and as fun as possible by really smartly considering hero dynamics and player playstyles, which I think is pretty cool. I'll give you a metaphor here to help you digest this a bit more. It's like a sports coach who not only matches teams by skill, but also thinks, okay, this team has all strikers and no goalkeepers, so that's going to be pointless and not fun, so let's swap it around a bit to balance roles. However, later developments show that NetEase didn't just stop there. By December 2020, the same researchers put out a GitHub simulation testing different matchmaking algorithms, including EOMM. It's way too nerdy, it didn't make any sense, but it was pretty cool to see. So at a game developers conference in 2021, or GDC, NetEase detailed how they started integrating this churn prediction and player streaks into the equation, and this is where things get intriguing and kind of controversial, I think. So they introduced this concept of player utility that included not just fairness, but also match duration.
Player utility is a score that measures how enjoyable or engaging a match is for a player, based on factors like fairness, challenge, and retention. Okay. So is that okay? So this is how they determine your satisfaction with the game, is they use factors like fairness, the challenge, and then the retention you have. Okay.
in queue time and recent win-loss streaks. For example, if you've been on a losing streak, the system is going to take that into account. Your utility, for example, how happy you'll be in the next match, might be lower because you're frustrated. So it's just going to compute all of that.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah.
Then the matchmaking might respond by trying to give you a better experience the next round to keep your spirits up. More specifically, that could mean aiming for a match that's predicted to be close and exciting, or ensuring to get you into the game quicker, or maybe balancing the teams in such a way that you have a fair shot despite recent losses. In that GDC talk, one slide specifically contained a really interesting line: give tiny advantages to the desperate or fatigued players during matchmaking if possible. For example, choose the win rate of 51% instead of 49% matchmaking proposals for those players. This basically implies that if the system has a choice between two possible matchups, one where it predicts you have a 49% chance to win, and one where predicts you have a 51% chance to win, and you've been on a rough losing streak, so by their definition, you're maybe desperate or fatigued, it will gently nudge you towards the 51% scenario. In other words, it's becoming a slight kind of hidden handicap in your favor just to help you out. On the flip side,
you know how I know that's true too? Because I know at certain matches, they'll just be bots. And I know some of y'all probably know this, but in case you don't, pay attention. Whenever you have like a really, really good game that just felt like it was way too easy compared to the other games that you've had, go into the scoreboard after the match and try to view the profiles of the other team. If you can't view any single person's profile in the other team, it's because all of them are bots. And I think you know what? This definitely makes a lot of sense for that, because if you're on a heavy losing streak and they just can't match you with people who I'm assuming the system thinks that you'll have a good chance of actually winning against, the system will just give you the match for you. It'll just give you a match of bots, and it's like, here you go, beat their ass, and just have fun. So this makes sense. I'm telling you, pay attention to when you win some matches like super, super easily, where you're dropping like 35, 40 bombs or whatever, and you're not dying. Maybe you die once. Check everybody's profile on the other team, and I promise you, most of the time, you're not going to be able to check any person's profile on the other team, and it's because they're all bots.
It also made me think, what about winning streaks? So the research doesn't really explicitly say give disadvantages to players on winning streaks. However, if the system is always nudging losing streak players upward a bit, then the logical consequence is that if you are on a winning streak, you might lose that gentle nudge. Makes sense, right? So you're essentially left to face the full force of competition, or maybe even given a slightly tougher matchup if others are being boosted. And this could naturally result in your streak coming to an end sooner or later, not because the game hates you, but because it just stops giving you training wheels. So NetEase continued to refine this approach time and time again. In a 2024 paper, they very frankly state that the traditional fair matchmaking, the SBMM thing, dividing players strictly by skill tiers, is not always good for player engagement. They cite a couple of prior works like the 2017 EOMM paper that we talked about earlier, which showed that just focusing on fair matches isn't sufficient for keeping players hooked. This new approach doubled down on engagement. Mix it up to maximize fun and retention is the general strategy. One analogy that was given by a NetEase researcher was, even if you have 12 players of similar skill, you don't always make two teams of equal skill. Maybe, you mix high skill and low skill players on each side in some scenarios, if that pattern leads to better overall engagement. But they found that a bit of variety, occasionally playing with or against someone notably better or notably worse than you, could keep things interesting. So maybe perhaps that underdog upset, or you face someone really good and you're learning from a really skilled teammate or opponent. Maybe those things make the sessions a bit more memorable and enjoyable. So Rivals' matchmaking is born from this lineage of research, which I thought is kind of cool. First of all, it likely groups players by their general skill brackets. So a beginner is not going to get matched directly against some top-tier veteran in a normal scenario. That just would be unfair. The second thing is, within that broad skill group, it's going to consider a variety of factors. So things like team composition, predicted fairness, and probably your recent performances and engagement metrics too. Also, it might occasionally, and this happened to me, create matches where one team has a carry player, like a star player, and the other team doesn't. And then
I was actually about to bring that up, because I know they do that in ranked a lot, where in ranked, I think from what I've noticed, sometimes because I'll be in silver, because I'm still in silver lobbies. I don't play ranked as often, but sometimes I'll be in ranked, right? And then I will get the whole team's silver 2, silver 3, like low silver, right? And we have one gold 3 or gold 2 player, and then the other team's got a bunch of kind of middle to high rank silvers, or whatever, and then they'll have one low rank gold member or some shit like that. I do think they do that sometimes, where the system will definitely put you, they'll give you a couple of really good carry players that it picked for you, and then the rest are kind of shitters. And then the other team will give you like, they'll be like mostly shitters and like maybe like one carry person or whatever. And that's because the other team with the 2 carries, the 3 shitters, have had, I'm assuming, all losing streaks are all really bad matches. So the system is gonna put the odds of them winning more on their side. So then you catch what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like, okay.
balances that by giving the star player weaker teammates and the other team solid mid-level players.
It
tries to keep your win rate around a pretty moderate level. And it's not doing that by forcing outcomes. I don't think it can. But by dynamically adjusting the challenges that you face. A consistently winning player will be moved up against stronger opposition, or maybe even given less backup, while a struggling player might catch a break with easier opposition or maybe some more support. So over many games, this feels like some invisible hand that is ensuring that most players hover roughly around 50% wins. So in the Marvel Rivals community, a common refrain that you hear is, the matchmaking's rigged. But what do players really mean by that, and why do they feel it, is what I was wondering constantly. So I went out, and I went to forums, typically from Steam and Reddit and other places, and just read through threads, and here's what people say. The first one is that 50-50 win rate feeling. Players like you and me often notice that just no matter how well you play, your win rate just tends.
I will say too, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I will go back because I do want to hear what he says. I just want to say this right now. Wow, dude. The editing in this video is really, really good. This is really, really good, man. Really, really good. Just want to give you your flowers.
percent wins. So in the Marvel Rivals community, a common refrain that you hear is, the matchmaking's rigged. But what do players really mean by that, and why do they feel it, is what I was wondering constantly. So I went out, and I went to forums, typically from Steam and Reddit and other places, and just read through threads, and here's what people say. The first one is that 50-50 win rate feeling. Players like you and me often...
Okay, so let's see. So this is on the Marvel Rivals. It looks like a Reddit, okay? Or at least like a forum page for sure. I'm assuming it's Reddit because of the r/, you know. But it says, so it appears this game forces a relative 50% win rate using some sort of matchmaking algorithm. I played ranked most of the evening last night, and without fail, after hard winning a couple matches, I would get thrown into a match where my team couldn't even push/hold the first objective. Total shutout. Definitely been there. Sure, this happens. Everyone's skill level is different, but the consistent pattern of not letting me rank that fast by putting me in an unwinnable match every 3rd or 4th round seemed deliberate. But if you're thinking this sounds insane or like some sort of cope, I'll just assume you haven't been paying attention to online competitive games for a very long time, because this is absolutely a thing that exists. Look up EOMM, but I'll TLDR it for you. What does that mean, by the way, when people say this? I've heard people use this shit all the time, the TLDR. I don't know what that means. Can somebody tell me what that means? I have no idea what that means. But I've definitely felt this though. Especially in ranked, dude. Like, yeah, I'll have a couple matches where I'm like feeling real good because I'm like, that was a hard win. That was a crazy, crazy tough win, but we pulled it off. I think we're doing this. And then yeah, the next game you just fucking smoked, dude. Like, you just completely smoked. And yeah. I mean, clearly in the video we're talking about the algorithm and matchmaking, so there is clearly an algorithm at play to keep things fair and keep things interesting for you, where you can't just win all the time. So okay.
To notice that just no matter how well you play, your win rate just tends to gravitate around 50%. So for every hot streak where they just won a bunch of games, a cold streak follows. And it's this feeling that it's almost looming, right? You're playing, you're killing it, it's going great.
Yeah,
you're like, crap, something's coming. The players have voiced that the system seems to kind of give you wins and then suddenly throw you into guaranteed losses, creating a really strong oscillating pattern. And in different forums, some of the players...
Artificial winning and losing streaks. EOMM seems to purposefully place players on streaks, both winning and losing. When you're on a winning streak, it feels great, but it's clear in hindsight that these wins are often against significantly weaker opponents or sometimes straight up bots. I'm telling you. Then almost inevitably you're thrown into a losing streak where you're matched against far more powerful players. This roller coaster of emotions is not organic. It's engineered to keep you chasing the high of victory, only to yank it away when you're at your peak. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's where I'm like, you know, like, I understand why they would do something like this, and then why they have an algorithm like this, because yeah, you know, it's all about retention and keeping players active and keeping, you know, people engaged in the game for a long period of time. That's how they make their money. You know, of course, I get that as far as a business move. But I do also think on just a normal, because I'm not a part of the business, I'm just a player. Just as a customer, as a player, as a fan in this system, it is kind of fucked up. Like, you're keeping me addicted. You know, like I'm not winning all of my games because I'm just good and I'm getting rewarded for it. I'm winning a lot of my games half because I'm good and half because the algorithm thinks I should be winning. And then when I'm like, all right, I'm learning, this is good, just keep going. We're just going to keep going tonight. We're really going to rank up and grind. You throw me back down and force me to play against crazy ass good players to make me lose so I can go back and continue trying to rank up and chasing the high. It's just kind of fucked up, dude. That's like dangling some candy like in front of a kid or some shit, or like that classic old like, here's the dollar, like, you know, like the dollar on the fucking fish hook. Here's your dollar. Oh, you gotta be. Oh, what's the one commercial they did that? Was it Progressive or some shit, or Allstate? I forgot which one it was, but they did the whole, oh, get it, oh, and they pull a dollar away from the person, like, oh, you gotta be quicker than that. Ooh, you know, that's fucked up, dude. That's fucked up, man. Just let me win. Let me win my games. Let me win. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a fairness kind of dude. For me, I would rather just have it to where it's like, yo, let me win my games because I win and I'm good, or just let me lose because I suck and like it is what it is, you know. I don't know. I would rather have it completely fair and that's it, but I understand it's a business, you know. But still, man, this is fucked up.
Claim that the game tries to satisfy everyone with a 48 to 52% win-loss ratio, regardless of whether you're a noob or a pro. It can certainly feel that way, and I know we've all been there. You dominate a few rounds in a few matches, and then the next matches, your team is just mysteriously uncoordinated, or the other guys are just murderers. So it feels, it's as if the game is just a rubber band. You stretch too far ahead in wins, and then it just snaps you back with defeats. From a player's perspective, this can be really infuriating. Like, why is the game punishing me for winning? So in a traditional SBMM system, consistent wins would simply mean that you climb to a higher skill bracket. So you'd be facing tougher opponents. Also, ideally, your teammates would also be of higher skill too. However, if Marvel Rivals is indeed using engagement optimized matchmaking, it's not just sliding you up and down a skill ladder. It might be actively orchestrating the challenge level to keep you in that sweet spot of engagement that it's looking for. To a competitor, this feels like just some arbitrary ceiling on their success. Hence the feeling of a rigged system ensuring you don't win too much. The second one is, being the team MVP on a losing match. This gripe is interesting. Why do I always get the bad teammates? It's a question a lot of people answer. Well, players who consistently perform well, say, somebody in the top 500 or someone that's just good, but still lose matches, really are starting to suspect that the matchmaking is giving them weaker teammates on purpose. You might have a game where you go 15-2, with Cap. It's hard to do with Cap, but
not that hard. If you're solo tanking, 100%. If you've got another tank with you, so you can peel, not too bad. Not too bad. Honestly, Captain really isn't that hard of a tank to play, in my opinion. It's just knowing when to dive, knowing when to peel. Definitely peel for your healers because you're definitely quicker than any other tank that you're dealing with. And yeah, like I said, I've pulled off solo Captain America games where I've destroyed, and it's really not that hard. It's not that bad.
Two of your teammates just barely contribute and are basically throwing. It's completely natural to wonder, was I just placed with weaker players intentionally? Some Rivals fans believe exactly that the game, knowing that you're strong, is going to pair you with a couple of weaker folks just to balance the team's overall power, and maybe even, perhaps give those weaker players a chance to be carried to a close match. All of this ties back to the research idea of mixing skill levels on a team for engagement. While I do agree that this can create some pretty exciting comeback stories, and it certainly has for me, it does also mean that as a skilled player, you're sometimes essentially handicapped by your team because of how matchmaking works. And that can definitely feel like the system is rigged against you. One Reddit user,
100%.
Riley, noted that the matchmaking creates a full profile of your account and attempts to match you with teammates that synergize or don't based on how it wants to push your games. So that does also mean that as a skilled player, you're sometimes essentially handicapped by your team because of how matchmaking works. And that can definitely feel like the system is rigged against you. One Reddit user, Riley, noted that the matchmaking creates a full...
Let me see. So it says, okay, if you read the paper, it also explains how it creates a full profile in your account and attempts to match you with teammates that synergize or don't based on how it wants to push your games. So that insta-lock 215 Spider-Man isn't just a random chance. Late here, but this explains why as a Namor main, I never get matched with Lunas, lol. It's why teaming up with friends is so strong. You can force the combinations the algorithm doesn't want you to have. You know what? That's a solid point. That makes sense on how people can climb to the higher levels. Because if this is the way that the system's like set up, I'm sure, I mean, it's not impossible for sure to get up to high ranks like strictly solo queuing, but I can see where I can see why a lot of people who do solo queue are hard stuck gold, because I feel like that's definitely where the system's going to be more active into forcing wins or forcing losses with you. That would make a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense why a lot of people who are in top 500 or in GM or Celestial or, you know, like the really high ranks and shit, of course, a lot of them are YouTubers or streamers or whatever, but a lot of them also only ever play ranked with other people. Only ever play ranked with other people. Because if you don't, you're gonna be susceptible to the algorithm that's just gonna forcibly fuck you up from time to time, and it's just gonna completely destroy your skill, you know, or your rank. So that does make a lot of sense. And it does make a lot of sense too, because I play a lot of tank and I play a lot of Doctor Strange and I play a lot of Hulk and shit. Bro, every time I play them, I swear I never get people who like want to sit there and combine with me. Like I never get somebody else who wants to play Hulk while I go Strange. Or if I'm playing Hulk, I rarely ever get anybody who plays Iron Man to like get that damage boost. Like we all just kind of do our own shit, and it sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But it makes sense. It makes sense why it would be like that.
Full profile of your account and attempts to match you with teammates that synergize or don't based on how it wants to push your games. So that Instalock 215 Spider-Man on your team isn't just random chance. In other words, players suspect that the algorithm might sometimes deliberately give you a teammate who picks a hero they're terrible at, so that's the Spider-Man who gets 2 kills and dies 15 times, in order to create a particular match outcome or experience. I know.
That's fucking crazy, dude. So even the algorithm knows you're a shitter, bro. They had a whole profile. That's crazy. So just know, if you're a bad Spider-Man, and you know you're a bad Spider-Man, or you're a bad character with whoever you're trying to main with, and you're getting put in these lobbies, just know the system is using you to fuck over everybody else on your team for engagement or fairness or whatever. Just know, you're the reason that you are 100% the reason your teammates can never rank up. Because the system uses you, 215 Spider-Mans, or fucking bro. Oh, it's ridiculous when I see fucking 6 and 10 Iron Mans, dude, or 6 and 10 Hellas, or just like, bro, like, just know, if you're a bad player on DPS and you refuse to switch to anybody else, the algorithm uses you to fuck over everybody else and bless the other team, because it knows you're a hard head ass motherfucker and you're never gonna switch. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Man, bro. Man. Sleazy.
Oh, it sounds a little bit conspiratorial, but given the complexity of the system, players are just connecting the dots in ways that seem plausible to them. Next is one of my favorite terminologies, the loser's queue and forced losses. Beyond just statistical balancing, some players go further and suggest that there's a loser's queue. And that's basically a hidden state where you enter after a certain number of wins where the game ensures you lose the next one or few. So they'll recount anecdotes like, I won 5 games in a row, and then suddenly I got 3 matches in a row with AFK teammates or complete beginners on my team. I could practically predict I was due for a loss. That's literally what he said. So it's really hard to prove such patterns as anything more than anecdotal, but the perception is very powerful, and I see that. The community's trust is, eroding here and there, and every tough loss becomes, well, not a learning moment. It should be a learning moment, but it starts to become this evidence for rigging. Rivals' EOMM system is very often accused of manipulating streaks on purpose. One specific player described it as a psychological tug of war, which I thought was nicely dramatic, where the game just gives you the high of a winning streak and then yanks it away. This claim, unfortunately, does align with what we discussed earlier. To keep players hooked, the system might orchestrate some ups and downs, right? That's what we talked about. However, players understandably feel that a loss isn't fair if it was engineered in any way. If you believe that you're losing a match and that was predestined by the algorithm's unseen hand, that's essentially the definition of rigging in a competitive context, and that's what people think. Another
but I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they do this specific algorithm and they do heavy on the like win and losses with ranked. If they do it with ranked, it is kind of fucked up. Like, because I feel like that should be the one mode where it's strictly just skill-based matchmaking, regardless of if you're solo queue or if you're teaming up with some friends and shit. It should really just strictly be skill-based matchmaking, because that's the whole point of ranked. It's skill. How good are you naturally at the game? This makes more sense for quick play matches. But if they're doing this in ranked matches, which with the couple of screenshots that he showed on screen, it sounds like they are. And then obviously with my own experience too, it does seem like it is in ranked as well. That's fucked up, because in a competitive sense, 100% I agree. The system is 100% putting a ceiling on your skill, regardless of if you're actually good or not. It's gonna either favor you or punish you, and in ranked, I don't think the whole engagement based matchmaking should be a thing. That should strictly be skill.
One that I was glad to see, which is the first thing that came to mind with all this stuff, was the lack of transparency, or basically the black box effect. So part of what fuels the rigged narrative here is that the matchmaking system is a black box. The game in no way tells you how it decides teams. There's no official readout of your MMR or how it pairs you, nothing. So when humans don't have an explanation, we tend to fill in the blanks. If you lose a match that felt unfair, it's way easier to blame the unseen algorithm than to chalk it up to just random chance, personal mistakes, or just a skill issue. Especially when you see patterns over dozens of matches, your brain looks for a reason. Players also talk to each other, and I see it even in chat. We're sharing stories of bizarre matches, suspicious patterns, and kind of half-remembered quotes from dev interviews or leaked code. So in Rivals' case, the existence of these actual research papers by the developers is like pouring gasoline on the fire. It's pretty rare, to be honest, that players have such direct hints at what might be going on behind the scenes. I know for me, I've never really had access to research papers that explain something about an online competitive game I'm playing, and that's the product of this video as well. So when they read things or a line in the paper like fair games are not sufficient to ensure player engagement from NetEase's own paper, yeah, it's super easy to jump to conclusions. Aha! They don't care about fair matches at all. They only care about engagement. They'll do whatever it takes to make us play more, even if it means rigging games, you bastards. The emotional toll is notable. I mean, it feels personal sometimes. Games are emotional experiences. I would even argue that Rivals is even more of an emotional experience because there's a team involved. And this is...
I wouldn't say... I wouldn't take it personally. I definitely would not take it personally at all, It's nothing personal about it. They're not specifically looking at you and being like, I'm gonna fucking make you lose all 5 of your fucking games because I hate you. Like, there's nobody at NetEase who's sitting in front of the computer like, yo, Slob Knocker 69, you're getting fucked up today. 6 lose streak right now. 6 game lose streak. They're not doing that. It's not personal. But it is, it's just business. Like, of course they're gonna do anything for retention. They have to. Like, that's how these games stay alive, like Marvel Rivals and all these live service games. They're not like Elden Ring or these single player games where they, retention's important, but they understand with single player games, you're going to play, you're going to play a couple times, whatever, maybe you're going to quit, go play other shit for a while, and then probably come back later on and play again. Like, it's not like that. These games live and die off of retention from us, the players. So yeah, if Marvel Rivals is going to be their is going to be their money printing machine, you bet your ass, yes, they're going to 100% use an algorithm that is going to keep players playing the game for longer, because that's how they're going to get their money. Now, I think that's good for quick play. I don't think they should use that engagement system in ranked, because at least for me, I don't stop playing Marvel Rivals because I'm losing a fuck ton of ranked. I just stop playing ranked. I play quick play, or I'll play one of the extra, one of the side modes or whatever they have, but I usually won't stop playing Rivals. And I feel like it's probably like that for a lot of people too, that if you're just losing a lot in ranked, you just kind of stop playing ranked and you play quick play, So I feel like at least in ranked, it should definitely just be skill-based matchmaking pure, and you either win or lose based on your skill and your teammate's skill or whatever. And then obviously when you go to quick play, that's where your engagement should come, because those are your casual matches. That's where you get a mix of everybody playing those games, So that's when I think the engagement algorithm is probably more appropriate. But it kind of just sounds like they're using the engagement algorithm just as an overall algorithm for the entire game, regardless if it's ranked or quick play, which, I mean, you can't get upset with especially the competitive players saying, if that's how it is, the game's kind of rigged, It makes sense, at least to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
Accountability or lack thereof, there's this thing where people are delusional and you don't want to accept your own mistakes, so you look to others. It's like a tiny little society. It's very interesting, but when you lose because you got outplayed, it stings. It sucks. But you can't accept it and try to improve. But when you lose and feel helpless, like nothing you could have done would change the outcome, then it breeds frustration and conspiracy. So Rivals players have expressed that EOMM undermines the core satisfaction of improving as a player. And that's a quote, by the way. Undermines the core satisfaction of improving as a player, making success or failure feel disconnected from your skill. That's a pretty strong psychological blow, If practice and skill building don't guarantee better results, because the matchmaking will just throw a wrench in it, then why try at all? I'm spending time in aim trainers and in the practice mode. What's that practice mode for if I'm just going to lose because the game makes it? This.
That's true. That's why, that's 100% true. That's why ranked, if it's not skill-based matchmaking, should strictly only be skill-based matchmaking, so you don't get players who who end up developing that feeling. Oh, so we could definitely shit. Sorry, I read a message and I totally forgot where I was going with this. Oh, right. So yeah, that's why they should definitely use skill-based matchmaking, like in competitive, and make it pure skill-based matchmaking, regardless of the forego all the engagement shit. So that way, at least the competitive players know that they're winning or losing purely based off of their skill. Because if they're gonna think this, yeah, I mean, sure, your ranked, your competitive players in this game are probably not the majority of people who play this game. Most people who play it are casual players. It still is a big chunk of people who play this game are competitive. And then especially if they're doing the whole, like the whole tournament mode and shit where you can win real life money. Like I think the first tournament they did, or the first few tournaments they did, was like 15 racks of cash, and I understand, well, in those, in the tournaments, you're not really solo queuing, you're going with teammates, so that kind of mitigates the whole thing. But I still think, like, I don't know, like if you're gonna make a whole ranked mode, if you're gonna do tournaments and shit, definitely make it just purely based on skill, regardless of if you have a full team or not. Just make it about skill,
Perceived lack of player agency drives people to conclude that the system is fundamentally unfair. It's not just that one match was off. It's the idea that the entire ladder is a lie. You're not truly...
No, but I will say too, most of the time you're losing. Sure, you can blame the algorithm, but you still do have to look at your own gameplay, because I promise you, most of the time, for most people who do lose their games and they lose them really badly, like you can't even get to first point, it's probably a mix of what your team is doing and then what you're doing, reacting to how your team's playing. So like, you know what I'm saying? Because like I don't know about y'all, but for me, when I see my team is being noticeably horrible, I just start also fucking up, because I don't know, maybe it's just something in the back of my head that's like, fuck it, like if the team is just gonna be this bad, I'm just not gonna try. But I still feel like, for sure, like if you're losing games, you still have to look into yourself and still be like, okay, just because I have teammates who are doing bad and we're losing really bad doesn't mean I also have to join in that circus and just completely fuck it all up. Maybe try to use it as an opportunity to learn how to, kind of, not saying you're going to be able to carry an entire team, but I think those situations do open up an opportunity for you to learn how to react in those situations where you and maybe one other person, or maybe just you on your own, are the really only good people on the team. And it's kind of up to you whether or not this game is gonna go good or go bad. It's a good way for you to learn how to be more of a leader, how to kind of teach people where to go, how to kind of navigate, kind of shepherd your team on when to engage, when to disengage. It's a good opportunity. You still have to look into yourself. You can't just blame everything on the algorithm, in my opinion.
In control of your rank, because the game is just pulling strings in the background. And that's even a more sensitive issue when people try to rank. When you're trying to actually get better at the game and earn certain rewards, then it starts to get a little controversial. So all these perceptions start to create a really powerful narrative that Marvel Rivals' matchmaking is rigged, which I'm not sure if I would use that word, but that's what people feel.
No, I don't think it's rigged.
It's important to note here that not every player feels this way. Some climb the ranks and feel the only thing stopping them is the next skill hurdle. And that's a fantastic mindset to have. And if you have that, congratulations. But the fact that enough players share the rigged perception means that it's a real community issue that I thought was worth investigating, which is why I'm making this video. Now let's
and a good video too.
Accusations. How does Marvel Rivals' matchmaking actually work? Let's pose the big question. Are these rigging claims true? What does the evidence say about Marvel Rivals' matchmaking mechanics and their effects? Let's analyze this point by point, comparing player claims with what we know from research and data. The first claim, as you remember, was that the system forces a 50% win rate for everyone. So it's not literally forcing a precise 50% on everyone. Some players do maintain higher win rates, especially in team games where you can party up with your friends and communicate directly and practice together, or some players are just amazing at their characters, right? And they're just very talented. However, this engagement optimized design does tend to nudge everyone towards the middle. So the EOMM logic from the EA paper, and some other ones as well, explicitly tries to avoid long losing or winning streaks because those can reduce engagement. If Marvel Rivals indeed uses that logic, then over time, most players will experience roughly equal wins and losses by design. Not because the game predetermines each match outcome, but because if you start deviating too high or too low, the matchmaking adapts. It's just going to snap you back to the middle. Win a lot, and as a result, you're going to be facing tougher matchups, you're going to have stronger opponents, maybe even less favorable team comps until you lose. Or lose a lot And you're going to get easier matchups, so weaker opponents, strong ally, or even bots inserted to help until
I was about to say, like, he hasn't brought up bots yet, but they're in there. I'm telling you.
you win. So it's basically a rubber band effect. And I talked about it earlier, but racing games like Mario Kart famously give the leading racer weaker power-ups and the trailing racer powerful boosts, like the fucking blue shells.
Ooh, you know what? That's a good point. That's a good fucking point. Because I never thought about that. That is 100% true, especially in Mario Kart. I hated that too, by the way. Dude, I fucking hated the fact that all you get in first place is a coin, a banana, or a green shell. Sometimes the triple green shell. But you'll never get the red shell. You'll never get a bullet. You'll never get a piranha. You'll never get anything other than those three items. The coin, a banana, or a green shell. That's it. That's a good point though, because that's true. Yeah, because I mean, no, I don't mean to brag, but you know, see me in some fucking Mario Kart, dude, I promise you, I'll whoop everybody ass in Mario Kart, hands down. I'm one of the best players in Mario Kart, dead ass. See me, but that's true though, because I constantly have to keep in mind that everybody else that's behind me is going to have, even second place, you're going to get red shells, you're going to get like better items, you're going to get the lightning bolt, like you're going to get better items than I get, and you have to keep that in mind. And that's true. I never really paid attention to that. That is very true. When you're in first place in that game, you get way considerably worse items compared to everybody else who's behind you. That's a good point. It doesn't matter because I'm too good and I still win anyways, because you know what I do? I just hold the banana. I mean, because think about it. The only thing that's going to stop me in first place, bro, it's not a red shell, because most of the time I'm holding on to the banana, or I'm holding on to the green shell to use it as a block. Or, yeah, so the red shells aren't going to work. Green shells aren't going to work. I barely hit bananas ever because I have glasses. And I can see. The only thing that's gonna work is the blue shell, and even by then, bro, I'm already way too far ahead that even if I get hit by a blue shell, it's not gonna do shit. So, I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like, I see what he's saying. Sometimes you're just naturally good at. Sometimes you get players that are just naturally good, so all that shit doesn't matter. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but it's very rare. I'm surprised how good I am at Mario Kart. Like it's insane. Just saying. Self-glaze. I'm taking this, okay? Anybody see me in Mario Kart, dude. I want to get a capture card so I can fucking stream playing Mario Kart, so I can play with you guys in the future. I promise you, I'm gonna show you, bro. I'm not to be fucked with in Mario Kart, bro. I'm telling you, bro.
Just to keep the races close and unpredictable. So Marvel Rivals' matchmaking appears to be doing a kind of a similar thing, but with how it forms its matches. This doesn't mean that every player is exactly at 50%. Of course, we know that. Highly skilled players can still maintain a very positive win rate over hundreds of games, and very new players might be below the 50% as they learn. But the system's intent is to keep you around an equilibrium where you win about as much as you lose, therefore preserving that kind of tension and the drive to play just one more match, which Marvel Rivals has that in spades. So there is some truth to this claim, but calling it forced might be too strong. It's just probabilistic adjustment, not a guarantee, you know? One community analysis even pointed out that nowhere in the available research was there a statement that one team will always get an advantage over the other, or that the outcomes are pre-decided. So the matches themselves aren't fixed. You always have a chance to win. It's just that the conditions are tuned to make those chances hover over the 50-50 for most players. The second claim was that matchmaking gives me bad teammates on purpose to make me lose. So this one's really tricky. If we interpret bad as in lower skill teammates, if we agree on that, the research does suggest that this does happen occasionally by design. NMatch findings show that a team composition of mixed skill, so what that means is 1 high skill and 2 low skill in a 3v3 team, for example, can improve overall engagement versus all players being of equal skill. Yeah, the algorithm might sometimes pair a strong player with weaker ones. That can happen. However, it's not as simple as to make you lose. In theory, those matches are still intended to be winnable. The other team might also have a mix. Maybe one medium-sized anchor instead of a high-skilled star, but all pretty decent. The purpose here, the aim, is that the match is close. That's it. The danger is that if you, as a high-skilled player, don't perform exceptionally well or to the standard that the game expects you to, and you might indeed lose, and then just feel held back by your allies. And what about the extreme case, like deliberately griefing you with team members who are far below your skill? Well, regular ranked play probably won't put a top-tier and bottom-tier player together often because of the initial grouping by skill. So probably not going to happen. But in edge case scenarios, or if the population is low at your skill level, and that leads to kind of wider searches, you might see it. So Also, if the system thinks that you're likely to carry and still have a fair match, it might gamble on a wider skill gap team. So then it can happen as well. But most importantly, there's no evidence whatsoever that the system identifies a specific player to punish and then assigns bad teammates out of spite. It's not like that. It's more systemic. It just
Okay. So what I said earlier about the 215 Spider-Mans, just know that it's your fault. That okay, it's not entirely like that. Okay, so I will halfway take that back because the system still looks at you like, yep, you are a lower skill player, so you deserve to be with this team over here that has one high ranked player or maybe two high ranked players, and then the rest of you are all low ranked players. So yeah, it still is like halfway true. I'll just take it back that it's not deliberate. But yeah, I would. Yeah. Okay. I see what he's saying. So it's like it's not that they're picking matches, or it's not that they're picking and choosing what matches you specifically win and what matches you specifically lose. They just really try to keep everybody at that 50-50, but then they'll put in slight advantages or maybe disadvantages as far as player skill and certain players that are on teams to kind of keep both teams teetering on that, 50-50 mark or 49-51 mark, whatever you want to call it, like they kind of just add things to make matches just more, a bit more balanced, but one team would have a slight better chance, if everything goes, not well. One team does have a better chance of winning than the other one because of certain things that certain teammates that the algorithm put on each team. So okay, that's kind of making sense to me. I don't know if I'm making sense the way I'm explaining it. Clearly, that's why I'm letting him talk a lot, because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just trying to break it down in the dumb version so I can understand what's going on, that's kind of how I'm getting it. But, okay, let me let him continue. We're at 32 minutes. We still got some time.
Treats everyone as part of the big engagement equation. So you might get bad teammates one match and then be the bad teammate in another match, and then it all kind of balances out. So one thing that I thought
that's kind of fucked up, dude, because now I have to sit here and think, man, sometimes when we lose, maybe it is my fault. maybe I am the ball and chain to my team from time to time. Oh, that is a shitty feeling. Fuck.
Debunks the more paranoid version of this claim is that the truly horrible mismatches would ruin engagement, not improve it. If Marvel Rivals put a newbie on your high-ranked team, that newbie would be miserable. They're going to crush him. They're going to go after him. He'll be angry, might throw. You'll be angry at them. That's a lose-lose scenario for the purpose of boosting engagement and enjoyment of the game. In other words, it would create churn, which is something that these algorithms do take into account and try to avoid at any cost. So the more likely scenario here, I think, is that you just get teammates slightly below your level paired against opponents slightly above your team's average. And then if that's done right, the match could still be balanced. So from your POV, you notice that your allies are making more mistakes than you, and it just feels unfair. I think that's
I wonder if For Honor does something similar, because when you play For Honor and like if you're doing like 2v2s or you're doing like Dominion matches or whatever, or the full 4v4 elimination matches, in the loading screen where you're able to see everybody's like character and who they picked and whatever, it tells you in like the lower, I forgot if it's the lower left or the lower right corner or both. I forgot. It's in somewhere in one of the corners on your screen. It'll give you two lines. It'll tell you your skill or your team skill, and then it'll tell you your enemy skill, and then it gives you like three symbols. Right? It'll either tell you your team, or that's what it is. No, it'll tell you your skill compared to your team, and then your skill compared to the other team, and it's all individual. Because I remember I used to play with my friends, and like it would tell me, oh, my skill level is lower than my opponent, but it's lower than my teammate. But then my friend or whoever I was teaming with would be like, oh, well, mine says I'm on par with the other team, and my skill is higher than yours. So I think For Honor does something probably similar to that. So, okay.
That's what's going on. The third claim is that the game secretly adjusts gameplay, so damage, hitboxes, etc., or uses bots to influence outcomes. Okay, this one is a bit wacky, but this is a deeper conspiracy floating around that I've seen. So some players speculated some crazy things, like the game might dynamically nerf your damage output if you're on a winning streak, or expand an enemy's hitbox to ensure you miss, essentially kind of invisible handicaps beyond just team composition. And one person said,
See, I've heard that complaint in Black Ops 6 multiplayer. That's where I first started hearing shit like that. The whole skill-based damage thing was in Black Ops 6 because people, I mean, granted, I don't think there's skill-based damage in Black Ops 6. I just don't know what the problem is with some of the games sometimes. It just feels like certain guns take way too long to kill somebody in that game, whereas other guns kill them like that. And it has nothing to do with like loadouts or things like that. I mean, sure, it could, but like I don't know because like there'll be some guns I use, I can't remember the name, but like there'll be ARs and shit, right? I'll use some matches, I'll be able, and mind you, I don't have the best aim, especially on PC. I'm still learning to aim very well. Controller was different. Controller, I was able to hit headshots, but you could also probably put that to the whole aim assist thing, which is whatever. But at least on PC, because that's where I'm starting to play most of my games now. I still consistently hit upper body, chest area, for the most part. And I understand you're not gonna get your 2-3 shots to the chest and that's it. It's gonna take some bullets for sure, but it shouldn't take. There's times, dude, I swear to you, I have dumped a whole clip into somebody upper chest. They're moving around 100%, but I'm still lining them up. I'm getting hit markers, bro, and they're not. It's not enough. It's not even worth a down. They're still alive, but yet they peep back around a corner, don't mean a couple shots and that's it. And it's like, I don't think that has anything to do with skill-based damage. I just feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with the way the bullet registration is in Black Ops 6 in certain games. I don't know if it has something to do with latency or something to do with like the servers or whatever it is. There's something fundamentally wrong with the bullet registration in that game. But because of that, I've heard a lot of rumors of people saying there's skill-based damage in Black Ops 6 to where if you're doing too good during a game, the game will physically nerf like your gun. Like regardless of like if you actually change anything in the loadout, it'll just make you, if you're too good, it'll make you have to shoot a lot more bullets at somebody to get a kill versus somebody else is able to like 2-tap or 3-tap you and that's it. I don't think that's true, but I've heard it from Black Ops 6. So
said that's why they don't have the damage number, so we can't tell. So as of now, there's zero concrete evidence for such kind of real-time in-match rigging. That would be far more akin to actual match fixing and probably detectable if somebody records and analyzes gameplay data. I've just never bothered to do that. All indications from the research papers that I read are that the rigging, if any, happens is kind of at the matchmaking stage, not within the match. And I'm even careful to call it rigging, but you know what I mean. So the game isn't altering your bullets or your hero's health on the fly under the guise of matchmaking. It would be a technical and I also think ethical can of worms for the developers to do that. As for bots, Marvel Rivals, like many games, does use bots in some modes or just a backfill if a human player isn't available. So that makes sense. Like the allegation is that after a string of losses, you might be placed into a match where one or two of your teammates are actually AI bots disguised as player-like names who are tuned to play well with you or let you shine, thereby boosting your morale or something. So in community discussions,
I've never had bot teammates. I've only ever had bot opposition when that's happened because I've checked too. Because I'm like, oh, if I'm playing with an entire bot enemy team, is my entire team bots too? And I've checked in a lot of games, and like most of my games that I've had botted enemy teams, my team is real people. Because I mean, one, they talk in chat, or two, I could check their profiles and their real profiles. I really feel like it's, I don't know, maybe I don't know. Maybe you do get bot teammates. I mean, it's not impossible by any means, but I feel like they really only use bots for the enemy opposition team versus putting them on your team, because I feel like it's a lot less easier to detect that the other team is bots during the match versus having them on your team. If you have them on your team, you could definitely tell who's a bot in the match while it's going on based on how they play and based on you watching them, because when you die, you're able to watch their camera for like 5-6 seconds. So I feel like they really only use it for the enemy team, and then they keep everybody on your team human. So it kind of feels a little bit more realistic. But I'm sure it happens.
claim to have noticed patterns like teammates that behave oddly or too predictably and suspect that they're bots put there to help them out. The developers have not confirmed this. If true,
I won't lie, and it's funny too. The amount of times, and this is true because the amount of times I'll lose in a game or whatever, and like people, like I'll lose bad, and people be like, "Of course we won. They're bots," and I'll respond. I'll be like, "We're not bots. I don't know what the fuck happened. We're getting destroyed." And they're like, "Damn, will you play like one?" And it's like, "Man, nigga, fuck you." Like,
would be an extreme form of engagement optimization, like literally rigging a win for you by using dummy players, right? So it's plausible in theory. Single player games tend to adjust difficulty all the time, but here it would be like adding an NPC on your team to just tilt the odds. Whatever, but without official word or data, we should just take this claim with a grain of salt. It's a little crazy. The next claim was engagement optimized means that the game cares more about profit than players. This is more of a sentiment and a feeling rather than a factual claim, but it does underpin the rigged narrative. So players feel that if the goal isn't pure competition, then the developers must be manipulating matches to make money. For example, by keeping you to play longer, so maybe you spend on a cool skin, or just frustrating you enough to just, hey, maybe if I buy a new skin, I'll play better. I don't know. There's some truth to, that engagement often correlates with revenue in free-to-play games. If you play longer, there are more chances and opportunities for you to just buy something. And, we saw that in the EA paper, they outright mentioned possibly tuning matchmaking for spending metrics. Who knows? Maybe they're doing it here. I don't know. But let's be objective. Engagement doesn't only benefit the company. It can also benefit the player too, in terms of having more people to play with. A game that retains players well is alive and fun. The community is great. A game that is brutally fair but hemorrhages newbies might end up in a graveyard where only the hardcore remain. And I can tell you for sure, other games I play are games like Tekken, where it came off and started off with a lot of players, and now whoever's left are just the sweat lords, and it's a murder scene in there. So this is definitely true. The developers likely do want you to have.
That's very true. I never played Tekken too much, but I was a Mortal Kombat junkie for a while. Yeah, that's a solid point that he makes, because in the early stage fighting games, dude. Like, that's why I low key don't even want to get Sparking Zero anymore. I was gonna get Sparking Zero early as fuck, like when it first dropped. I just, bro, in this economy, bro, I'm not, niggas is not doing good with money, so I can't afford a $70 game right now. So I couldn't get Sparking Zero, which really sucked. Now I can, but I don't even want to, because at this point, the only people that are really consistently playing it are gonna be like the hardcore, like they play it every day. It's the casual. I think the casual audience isn't really there anymore. So it's gonna be, sure, in the beginning when I first start, sure, I'm probably gonna match up with people who are around my skill. But once I start winning a couple matches, it's just gonna be fucked from there. So that's true. A lot of fighting games have that struggle, because definitely Sparking Zero, like early days of any Mortal Kombat game, is super fun because everybody's learning. But then after like a year or so after it's been released, a lot of the casual people leave, and what you're stuck with is just people who just know how to combo like crazy, and it's ridiculous. So he's got a good point. I can only imagine how fucked Tekken is, bro.
Have fun, just enough fun and some ups and downs, so that you can just keep coming back and having different emotional experiences. And I know it's a delicate balance. If they push too hard for profit and then make the experience unenjoyable, then it backfires and players leave. And we've seen that many times before. So while yes, the system is there in parts to increase metrics that tie to profit, I don't think it's just a simple evil versus good scenario. They're trying to align what keeps you playing with what you enjoy, just with maybe a heavier hand than some would like. That's it. And they have to make money, right? Somehow. And the game
I'm sorry.
It's free, so I'd be okay with a little push towards profit. Another claim was that if I...
I was going to say, I'm like, I get it. Oh, you guys are only doing this for profit. And it's like, well, I get the end of it's a business, bro. At the end of the day, yes. They do have to make money. 100%. They do. So it is for money. At least in my eyes, it definitely is for money. But at the end of the day, it still seems like it's the system, even as he explained it, even though he has proven that there are slight adjustments that are made throughout your game time while you're playing that helps you either win or lose. Its still overall goal is to make it as fun for you as possible, so it's not like it's just 100% like they don't give a fuck about the players, all they want to do is make money. It's not 100% that, but they are a business, bro. Like, of course, they're going to have to do things to ensure that, you're going to want to at least play the game more. And on top of that, maybe buy a skin or two or buy the battle pass. Like, of course, it's just how the shit works. If they didn't do this, dude, we would probably see the fall of Marvel Rivals pretty quickly, like most other live services that are only in it for profit, So...
I am stuck in rank. It's the matchmaking's fault. All right, so this is the classic Elo Hell argument heard in other games from, Overwatch all the way to League of Legends. now echoed in Marvel
God
Rivals.
damn
So
it.
the idea is that you might belong in a higher rank. Say you believe that you have the skill of a diamond player, but the matchmaking system's tricks keep you stuck in gold by throwing unwinnable games at you. Is it true? For a consistently excellent player, probably not in the long run. There's a YouTuber whose name is Awkward, and I think he's a former Overwatch guy, and he took Mantis on a 100% winning streak. I think he went all the way from bronze to GM over a 6-hour period. So obviously there's outliers for these things, but while engagement matchmaking can...
That's crazy, dude. Like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of us just aren't committed to games like that. We're just never going to reach those stages. And it's just something you got to accept. You can't blame it on the system, you know?
I mean, really slow down how quickly you climb, because
That's crazy. You take Mantis from unranked to GM in 6 hours? Do you understand how good of a fucking player you need to be? How much game knowledge you need to have? Not just in Rivals, but just in hero shooters in general? To be able to pull some shit off like that? Dude. Levels. There's levels to this shit, bro. There's levels to everything, including video games. Levels to the shit.
Will feed you some losses, even if you're good. As Awkward showed, if you genuinely outperform your peers significantly, you're going to rise. So we see top players, they're able to reach the highest ranks in Marvel Rivals. We see it happen, not constantly, but pretty frequently. And they also deal with the same system, right? But their skill carries them through the artificial hurdles that the game throws at them. On the other side, there's one high-level player that pointed out that they've seen top-tier players smurf, basically play on new accounts, and even they lose games in bronze on occasion. So that's normal variance. I think over a large sample, they will still climb, right? They're great players. The engagement system doesn't really lock doors. It perhaps adds some extra zigzags to the path upward, but it doesn't lock doors. So if someone is truly hard stuck in a rank over hundreds of games, it's likely that their current skill level, as harsh as that may sound, and you may disagree,
that's the
what's
cap.
holding them back. The system,
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that's just the cap, bro. That's just your peak. It is what it is. You hard stuck gold, brother, and you've been playing ranked for a while, and you can't get out of gold. You just gold, bro. I'm not even talking shit, because that's probably where my peak is too. I've only ever reached gold in any game I've played ranked in. Literally any game. Just hard average. I can never really touch platinum. I think maybe in Rainbow Six, I forgot, like early on in its life. Like I think I touched like plat 3 or some shit, and then I immediately fell right back down to gold. It felt good, but it wasn't for long. So I mean, yeah, it's I definitely agree. I think most of the time it's definitely not the algorithm. It's just that's just your skill. But then again, that's me hoping that in ranked they're using skill-based matchmaking versus the engagement-based matchmaking or whatever they call it. Like, I'm hoping that it's that, because if it's the engagement one, that, I don't know, that's kind of shitty. Now, I understand if you're playing hundreds of matches and you're still stuck, then yeah, it is probably your skill. But still, if it's still, like, if they're using the whole engagement-based matchmaking or whatever they call it in ranked and in quick play, it does give some of their complaints about it being rigged kind of some weight in my eyes. But obviously I know that's not every time, for sure.
Might have given them a few more bad dice rolls than a purely random system would, but not an impenetrable wall. In fact, one commenter encouraged that you're not in bronze, silver, or gold because N-Match is rigging your games. You're in those ranks because you belong there. It's a tough love statement, I know, but statistically it's probable. The engagement-focused matchmaking can impact your experience of climbing, so making it, streakier or perhaps slower, but there's no evidence that it stops you from climbing entirely. And why would it? So stepping back from the specific claims, let's weigh in what the matchmaking approach does well and where it falters. First, let's talk about the pros. The first one that I can identify is more exciting matches in theory. So by avoiding just complete stomps and long, monotonic streaks, the system strives to give you a mix of wins and losses. They just keep the outcome of each session uncertain. Close matches, come from behind victories, and the occasional kind of nail biters are really fun. I feel that system on me. I remember my matches. I remember the close calls, and I remember the stomps occasionally, and I remember the feeling of coming back or the feeling of having it and losing it. That's still an experience. So a purely fair system can sometimes produce pretty boring, kind of predictable matches. Imagine always knowing you'll crush or be crushed with no in between. The engagement approach kind of injects a bit of the unexpected in there. So as one NetEase summary put it, it aims for patterns that improve player retention by keeping things diverse. Another really big pro for me is retention of new or casual players. So new or less skilled players are much less likely to be thrown into just a meat grinder of constant losses. I talked about Tekken 8 before. That's what it is. You cannot rank up. These motherfuckers have been playing that game for 30 years. You cannot. It's just impossible. So unless you're willing to put in that work or be super talented, you're screwed. You can't. If the system detects that they're at risk of quitting, so basically their churn probability is high, then it will try to give them a better experience. Maybe that one match where they get to be the hero or be really impactful, you know? So that compassion towards the lower end of the skill curve typically means that more players stick around, which is healthy for the game population and it's healthy for the game. And it's just no fun for anyone if only the hardcore players remain and the queue times skyrocket. And I guess this is also why Marvel's has been able to maintain the player count it has pretty much since launch. So I see this as a really big thing, and I hope this never changes. I sort of talked about it.
No, it's definitely working for sure. It's definitely working a lot. Like, you know, it's exactly like that. I forgot. Wait, what is Rivals? Let's check the Steam charts real quick. The Steam charts right here. Wow. So all-time peak of last month was 644,000. Yeah, and they stay consistent. Yeah, 305,000, 319,000. Like all their peaks are pretty much the same. 300,000. Yeah, that shit. Right now they're at 407,000 people playing on Steam at the moment. Like that's crazy. Let me see. The max. Here you go. Yeah, 644,000 in last month, and then. This is the release date. Oh, okay. So even on release, even on release, they think they peaked at like 480,000, and then and then season 1 dropped, and then they just went up. They skyrocketed. So I mean, yeah, the system's working. I mean, look, you see, like it's a slow decline, but I mean, it's not a bad one either. This is pretty healthy. I feel like, you know, and look, they're starting to go up again here. So I mean. Yeah, see, we're 400,000 right now. So I mean, yeah, the system's clearly working. They haven't lost too many people that the game started with. They actually right now they're right now at a much higher rate than they were when the game released with 400,000 people. And they're like, that's the 24-hour peak. So we're peaking right now with this as far as the damn. Okay, so I mean, it's working. It definitely is a system that's working for sure. So, okay, that's a lot of people too, bro. That's crazy.
Already, but faster queue times is a big deal, man. With a really flexible system like that, then the matchmaking can sometimes relax some strict skill matching to get players into games faster. If the top priority was perfectly even skill, then higher ranked players might wait ages to find the exact match.
That's true. I think that's why that's why I like the fact that Rivals doesn't have what do you call it? Like roles and shit, like a role select like Overwatch. Because yeah, Overwatch definitely gives you long queue times because their matchmaking is based on skill versus just engagement. So I mean, it definitely does play a role, you know, for sure. Yeah, it's working, like I said.
Rivals' approach is willing to bend the rules a bit, kind of like mixing skill levels in a team, to reduce weight under the belief that playing is more fun than waiting. I tend to agree.
I agree.
What I can think of is it just encourages adaptability. So by sometimes putting players in uncomfortable situations, like off roles or just carrying weaker teammates once you get good, it challenges them to adapt. For competitive folks, this can actually really foster skill growth in versatility and maybe even leadership. You might become a better player overall by learning to handle a variety of match conditions, not just fair fights. Hey, these guys are rushing to spawn. Should I just sit here and chat, or do I go and help? You know, little things like that can really help you out. So I'm a glass half full.
Yeah, that's kind of that's what I was saying. You know, like I think it's good because it opens up opportunities for you to grow as a player when you're getting put in games like that. That's why I'm like, I see both sides. I'd like it to be based on skill, but I can see where the negatives of only being a pure skill-based matchmaking game is versus just trying to get people in a game to play the game, and where that's more beneficial versus the other one. I see both. I get it.
Kind of person. I like to think of this as a positive. Now let's talk about the bad stuff. The first one I can think of is there's just this perceived lack of fairness. I talked about it in detail, but many players feel really cheated by this system, and I understand how that feeling comes about. Just the integrity of ranked competition really comes into question if the rules aren't consistent. So in a fair match,
I will say before he continues, I feel like people are always looking to point the finger at something else. You know what I'm saying? And like, I think the only thing bad that this did really for that scenario of people is this kind of algorithm gives them that thing to point the finger at, where they won't hold themselves accountable. They'll just be like, well, I'm bad and I lost because of the algorithm. And it's like, No, because people always will complain about everything. Every time somebody loses, they always have something to say, and it's always never their fault. And that's outside of Rivals. That could even be in Call of Duty. That can be in GTA. That can literally be in any game that has some sort of competitive mode in it. If somebody loses, it's very rare. You'll find somebody who's like, "That's my fault. I lost because I could have did this better." No, they're always like, "Oh, my lag." Oh, lag. Oh, I'm fucking lag. How many times have y'all heard that? Oh, what the fuck? I'm fucking lagging, dude. If I wasn't fucking lagging, or that guy, or if you're in Call of Duty, oh, that guy's for sure cheating. Oh, no. I watched his replay. He's fucking cheating when the guy's clearly not cheating. He's just better. And he's just, no, that guy's fucking cheating. Fuck that guy. What the fuck? Like, yeah, just people, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this point is kind of mute to me because everybody always tries to find something to point the finger at. And the only thing Rivals did with this algorithm was now give the people something to point at when they lose and not hold themselves accountable. It's the algorithm. That's why I lost. Oh, it's rigged.
Match, you'd say, may the best team win. In a heavily engagement-driven match, one could just cynically say, may the algorithm decide. And that, I think, undercuts the competitive spirit. I'm not an amazing player. I'm new to these games, and I just hit Platinum last night, so I'm very proud of myself.
Hey, congrats.
Rising to Platinum and now facing the reality that I want to go to Diamond and other ranks, knowing all of this is in my head, definitely undercuts it a bit. The second one is a lot of high-skill players are just frustrated or will get frustrated. So the best players will often want to test their skills in a pure environment. When they feel that the system is throwing them curveballs, like weaker teammates or just some forced weird probability scenarios, it's very frustrating. They don't want training wheels or artificial difficulty. They want their true skill to be the only factor. And I get that. Some are just going to quit out of frustrations or a sense that the game isn't rewarding their time. And we see this sentiment in the Marvel Rivals community a lot with some skilled players announcing their departure due to the EOMM system. Then I can also think of
that's kind of extreme. Dude, at that point, I mean, look, I'll say this: if that's the case, if I ever climb up to those high ranks, because I am a naturally competitive person, I like to rank really high in my games. At least try, But like, if I was to ever get to that point where I'm like, I know this game has this system. I know this game will sometimes use the system against me. Bro, hit up LFG. I understand the LFG thing, the looking for groups and shit. Sometimes it's not the best. Sometimes you get some fucking shitter teammates. I get that. But if you really just want to test your skill, get some friends or find some people who are in your rank that you can play with, build a team together to go against other teams, or like hop in a tournament setting. Marvel Rivals, those tournaments and shit where you have to have a team going against other teams. So the whole algorithm thing is pretty much void because you both have fully stacked teams. That is just, at that point, that's just pure the best team wins. I don't think it's so extreme where you should fucking quit the game outright because it's using an engagement based algorithm versus the skill based algorithm, because dude, you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. The game is still fun and competitive is still pretty fair. It's just if you reach the top echelon of this game in ranked, well, now it's time to start popping in tournaments. And I think that's where most people, when they really want to really test their skills, that's where I think most gamers try to become like esports players. They try to go professional with it because that is the purest environment to test your skill, is in esports. I don't know. I just think quitting an entire game because of an algorithm that sometimes nudges you one way versus the other, sometimes gives you or tunes you to win versus losing, I think that's a little extreme. Like, it's not bad. It's like he said, it's not like the algorithm is determining specifically you're losing this game or you're winning this game and that's it. It's just sometimes it tunes it, sometimes it gives you lesser teammates, maybe to give you more of a challenge, or maybe it's for you to help them out since you're supposed to be such a good player. I don't think it's that extreme. You need to fully quit the game. But, everybody has their own shit.
It's complex and it's unpredictable. So the system is so complex that even developers and data scientists struggle to perfectly tune it. And that tells you something. That means it might make some mistakes, a lot of mistakes. So you could get matches that end up just horribly one-sided, or bizarre outliers that slip through the algorithm's testing. And when it does, players won't just see it as a one-off error. They'll potentially view it as proof of malicious rigging, and then they can get really pissed. So the lack of transparency amplifies this. Players just don't know why a match was bad, so they just assume the worst. The last con I'll give you here is just the ethical and long-term issues it proposes. So if players feel manipulated, that erodes trust. In the short term, they might keep playing the Skinner box effect, if anybody knows it, of variable rewards that can be pretty compelling sometimes. But in the long run, it can foster a lot of cynicism and burnout. So now we're in the honeymoon period. I don't know what it's going to look like in 6 months. So, a game can develop a reputation for being unfair or pay to win in some cases, even if money isn't directly involved. Kind of any whiff of trying to get engagement to monetization can really tarnish perception. So if Marvel Rivals is seen as too psychologically manipulative, it might drive away the exact dedicated community that would sustain it for years. And I know, I've made Marvel Snap videos. Marvel Snap is a mobile card game that suffers from exactly that. And if you want to kind of see a telltale case of that and people leaving the game behind, me included, this is why I'm making Rivals content now and I don't cover Snap anymore. This is it right there. Oh, hello, person that skipped the whole video just to get to this part. Anyway, so what is the conclusion? Rigged?
I will say he definitely kind of fits the Deadpool aesthetic pretty well. At least that last part was definitely Deadpool vibes for sure. I like this guy. This guy's pretty cool.
Or just reality? Well, the answer is both simpler and more complicated than the question implies. It's rigged in the same way that a theme park ride is rigged. The ups and downs and thrills of it are engineered. They're planned. It's just a bunch of metal. But the fun you're feeling and the puke that's coming out of your mouth, that's entirely real. So in a just purely competitive sense, rigging suggests deceit. So it's the idea that the outcomes are preordained or that someone is pulling strings so that the matches aren't on the same level. Marvel Rivals' matchmaking isn't rigged in that overly nefarious way. No one is sitting at a control panel somewhere saying, give Nerfpool a loss, he's been kicking ass. That's not happening. There's no evidence of the game flat out choosing winners or tweaking your damage in real time to make you lose a fight. Come on, that's nuts. You can always, through skill and teamwork, locking in, good communication, just overcome the challenges that the system throws at you. Nothing is unwinnable or unwinnable by design in absolute terms. However, Marvel Rivals is for sure using a sophisticated matchmaking algorithm that has its own agenda. That is proven in the papers and also through the analysis that I've made in this video. So the agenda isn't purely to create fair, even contests. It's just to keep you playing and enjoying or at least be engaged with the game. That's it. And yeah, in the pursuit of that, it may at times feel like an invisible hand is orchestrating your rise and fall. The system giveth and the system taketh away, and it doesn't even tell you when and it doesn't tell you why. So perhaps the truth is best seen as just a nuanced explanation rather than just a binary verdict. So Rivals' matchmaking lies in a gray zone, and here's why. It strives for balance, first of all, but not the traditional kind of balance we expect in competitive rank play. It's just balancing engagement metrics with fairness. Also, it protects new or faltering players, which is arguably a really good thing, but in doing so, it might hold back really good players momentarily just to level things out. It also doesn't want you to leave angry or bored. But ironically, that very effort can make people angry if they become aware of it. So that's kind of silly. For casual players, this system can be really a blessing. It just smooths out the extremes and ensures that more games feel competitive. For competitive purists, it can feel like a curse. So it's just this ever-present handicap system that kind of muddles the true display of skill. So in my investigative journey here, I saw that the idea of engagement-based matchmaking didn't just start with Marvel Rivals. It's part of a broader evolution in gaming, just from the early ELO days of chess to today's kind of machine learning-driven techniques. Marvel Rivals is just one of the higher-profile cases where the community spotted the man behind the curtain, so to speak, thanks in part to those research papers like the EOMM and OptMatch. Knowing about them has, kind of ironically, made players really suspicious. Transparency is a double-edged sword, man. If players don't like what they see, they start to lose trust.
That's very true. That's 100%. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, this thing isn't. I agree with him. This thing isn't a new thing. The skill-based matchmaking, it isn't a new thing. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to remember too, these live service games, especially live service games that we enjoy. These are things they have to do to stay alive. Because it's true. Player-based, player loyalty is super fickle. For all we know, Marvel Rivals could lose all its players when the next hero shooter comes out. That just is better, and we're all going to flock to that because it's just cooler and better. And, only the real hardcore fans are going to stay with Rivals, while everybody else decides to flock over to the next thing that's hot, because that's what most gamers are. And especially that's what most casual gamers are. They're a lot less loyal, I'm going to stick with this game because I fuck with this game and I like this game. And it's more like I'm just playing what everybody else is playing. And then when everybody else moves on to the next thing, I'm also going to move on to the next thing. And that, it is what it is, and that's the reality of it. And I think, these games have to develop these algorithms like this to keep us from just being able to do that. Because I won't lie to you. I like Rivals. I do a lot. I like the way it plays a lot. And this shit doesn't really change it for me. I don't really care. It's just going to make me realize that in games where we're losing and we're getting fucked up, I'm going to have to sit there and be like, okay, the algorithm is fucking with me right now. I need to get on my A game and not give up, and try to win this even with all of the hurdles and shit in front of me with the algorithm. I'm just going to try to become a better player. And I think that's what most people should try to do, but I understand most people probably won't. So I think this whole engagement thing, like it's good, like at the end of the day, it's a business. They have to do things like this to keep us from leaving, and yeah, like I said, I like Rivals for sure. If I like Rivals 100%, but like if they didn't do this kind of algorithm, this kind of system, when Overwatch dropped their whole perk thing or whatever they did with all their new, like the new update where they added all the perks and like added a bunch of new shit, everybody would have just immediately flocked back to Overwatch. And I mean, some people did for sure, but because Overwatch has such a because Overwatch is the algorithm for Overwatch is determined purely based on skill for the most part. You can really only enjoy Overwatch for a little bit before you're just losing repeatedly and you're just not having fun anymore because it's all based on your skill. Whereas you can play Rivals and sure, you might know you're bad and you're gonna lose some games, but at least you have the algorithm to kick in and be like, oh shit, I destroyed this game. Oh shit, I really did good. Oh shit, I had some really good teammates. We worked really well together. This is fun. That's the goal. It's to not make you so pissed off like you would when you're playing Overwatch because you're losing so much. It's to make you be like, okay, I'm pissed off because I'm losing, but okay, now I'm winning. Now I'm feeling happy. It's a drug in a way. It is what it is. I don't know. I think Rivals is still pretty good.
Matchmaking is just engineered in a way, not to guarantee specific outcomes, but just to shape an overall experience. And whether that crosses the line into feeling unfair is really a subjective topic, and it really varies player to player. So in the end, we just must reflect on what we want from our games. If the answer is pure competition and merit-based progression, then Marvel Rivals' system is just going to feel antagonistic to that. Maybe even unacceptable for a lot of players. But if the answer is exciting matches and a healthy game community, then, the system's goals start to make a lot of sense, even if the execution might need some tuning. One thing is very clear to me is that the discussion Marvel Rivals has sparked will be important for the future of online games. It forces developers to consider how much they should prioritize engagement over transparency and fairness. And it does push players to ask how much algorithmic meddling they're comfortable with. And that's going to become more and more of a thing, especially with AI on the rise. So we almost have to get used to it. And as players, I think being informed is our best tool. Understanding the forces at play shows that we can adapt and just make our own choices to play, to pause, or just to move to a different game if that aligns with our philosophy. And that was the purpose of this entire monstrosity of a video, is to inform, to help you see different perspectives of this matchmaking, to also nerd out a little bit. I think it's really cool that things have evolved to this extent, all the way from chess now to here, and I'm excited to see where it goes because I do like that it's focused on shaping an experience that the developers intend. I just have some combating feelings with how healthy that is for a competitive environment. But overall, it was incredibly fun for me to learn all of this. It was exhausting to make this and to research everything. So hopefully you appreciated it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how NetEase advances with this. And even though I don't want to look at a research paper again in the near future, I would be excited to see new developments around this topic because I think it's genuinely kind of cool. So the next time you find yourself in a baffling losing streak or an effortless win streak in Marvel Rivals, you'll know that it might not be mere luck of the draw. There's a system in the shadows, a balancing and rebalancing of the scales. Rigged? Not exactly, but neither is it the level playing field we once imagined. It's something new, a battleground where human skill and machine strategy intersect. And in this new arena, the final judgment on whether that's right or wrong is up to each of you.
For a brief moment in time.
He does definitely have that, he has that Deadpool aesthetic for sure. Dude, I'm not going to lie. That was a pretty good video.
Imagine logging in.
That was a pretty good video. I really liked that. I think he did fantastic research on this topic for sure. I think he did a great job. Yeah, I don't know. My takeaway from this is, there's probably times where the algorithm in this in Marvel Rivals definitely is against against you, not in your favor too much, and sometimes it'll bring you teammates that are just not all the way good, or sometimes it'll put you against people who are very good and they kind of whoop your ass. And I think it's just I don't know. For me, I take it as a challenge. I take it as, okay, now I can recognize when I'm losing really badly in my solo queue games that, okay, is one, it's me for sure. I need to, think about what I'm doing, recognize where I'm making my mistakes and try to fix it. And then two, I'm going to take it as, okay, now that I understand, there's things I need to be paying attention to as far as I'm playing. I now know that potentially the system could be against me. It's not like the system is completely stifling me, but it is putting extra things in my way to make this next victory a little bit harder. So I need to try a little bit harder. And I don't mean like start yelling at your teammates and telling them, you need to do this, you need to switch to that, whatever. No, I need to try to adapt to what my teammates are doing right now and try to, kind of, patch whatever holes that are appearing in the team, And I think this kind of thing could definitely benefit you if that's what you're going for. If you really want to be better, this is just an extra challenge for you, and it happens at any rank. So, you don't always have to. Oh, the challenge isn't always the fact that you're just going against really good players. The challenge is also the fact that maybe you just don't have the best team, and now it's either up to you to win this game and kind of carry the team up, or you just kind of give up and just let the system do what it was to just do what it wants, So yeah, I think this was a great video, dude. I like this. This was a really fun topic. This was a really interesting topic that I haven't really heard about. This is awesome. Yeah, man. So, like I said, this was from a gentleman named Nerf Pool. He uploaded this about a week ago. I liked the video. I subscribed. I like this guy. I'm definitely gonna be checking him out more. I'm gonna put the link to this video down in the description below. Make sure y'all check it out. Give him a like. Give him a subscribe. This dude's pretty fucking cool. He's pretty funny. I like him. But this has been me, Lil Mackie Rov. Don't forget to leave me a like. Consider subscribing. Leave a dislike if you don't like the video. And then let me know what y'all thinking, man. What do y'all think about this topic? What do y'all think about engagement-based matchmaking? Do you guys like it? Do you guys not fuck with it? Like, how are we feeling about it? But like I said, it's been me, Lil Mackie Rov, and I will catch y'all later, man. Peace out. Let's go.